Vaigaji ka kasa, Vaigaji ki kahtay. Hi everyone who is watching. I just thought I'd elaborate on some points that really interest me and inspired me from a Q&A session after a kata last Sunday. It was about the reference to eat little, sleep little, talk little. I'm not sure of the order, but that's the gist of it. And this is kind of said throughout spirituality and Sikhi and also yoga as well. So I wanted to share some real life stories on it, because I find that I'm not so much of like a speaker or a questioner. I'm more of a storyteller, and I'm not sure where that fits in sometimes. So I'm just creating my own little space. I may do some Gurbani references near the end of it. I'm not going to say it in Gurmukhi just because I don't feel all that comfortable in it. I mean, I say a lot of Gurmukhi on my own, but I might just write the Gurmukhi and then the English in the comments instead. I'm not leaving Gurmukhi out, of course, I'm not. It's so important. It's just, I thought I'd just share some other things anyway. So I think talk little really fits in with street bachar, especially basics of Sikhi street bachar. And I'll share, so recently I did it at Reading, and I'm actually quite bad at bachar. I even say that to people. I even say I really suck, and I don't know if they believe me, but I'm just being honest. And so I said that, and then I got to the bachar and they were like, okay, get to work. And I was like, okay. And I just came from work, so I was a bit like, okay, I'll just do it, fine, yeah. And everyone was very excited to see me, and I was still like, yeah, I'm gonna give it a go anyway. So I did it, and it happened to be one of the best bachar experiences I've ever done, and it all came through listening. I find that doing bachar, if you might give someone a leaflet and say, have you heard of Sikhi? But overall you do more listening than talking, and that's the beauty of it. You're not trying to ram something down someone's throat, or you're not trying to convince them of anything. You're just kind of giving that knowledge, and you're listening to other people's points. You're listening to something they might have experienced, like, my Sikh is a dentist. I mean, my dentist is a Sikh and he's good looking. Or do people stay warm in their turbans in the winter? Like, things like that. You can just listen along, and through listening you end up talking a little bit, and then listen and more, and then talk a little bit. So you have that backwards and forwards conversation, that kind of connection. And the other cool thing is if you've been to a bachar day and you've been talking all day, listening all day, or maybe even 2 hours like I did, you really realise, first of all, how exhausting that can be mentally, but very worth it. And also, say if you go to a shop and you buy something, you realise the interaction is like so quick, it's done. Thank you, here's your receipt, enjoy your day. Not even that, actually, just, okay, here's your receipt. It's so quick, human interaction is so quick. However, bachar day, everyone is talking and getting along mostly. There might be other people that come up to you and state their religious beliefs, that's fine. You know, it's really incredible. So through that, all that listening, I've found myself talking. I mean, admittedly, I did have a friend with me who's really chatty, so that kind of did relax me a bit, but because I'm quite a good listener in some senses, I just listened, and then I found myself talking. So I think through listening I could talk a bit, so it was really incredible. Another example, now this is a yogic one. So I was doing my yoga training, and one thing you do when you do your training is you do like a sadhana in the morning, and everyone has a turn at that, whichever month you have. So when it was my turn or anyone else's turn, you do your sadhana, you might have breakfast. So for anyone that doesn't know, a sadhana is a morning practice. Sadhana in yogic terms is like 2.5 hours. So it's japji, mantras, yogic set, relaxation. Okay, so, and it's often at 4:30 a.m, something like that. So anyway, you prepare your set, you guide everyone through that, you create that space, and then you go and have breakfast, and then you come back and people give you feedback, which is great. So you're in a circle and everyone says satnam, and then it gives you their feedback. And the one rule that people really struggled with was don't talk. Because it's so hard when someone's saying something to you and they say something silly like, oh, you could have opened the windows quicker, you could have put less candles, you could have, that wasn't a good track, or something. You just want to say, but this is why, like, but you don't. You just sit there and you listen and you take in what they're saying. And it's a really great skill and tool to develop, because it develops deep listening. It develops taking in what they've said instead of talking as much. So I think listening really encourages empathy. Empathy is different to sympathy. So sympathy is, oh, poor you, and empathy is, I get that, I've been through it, we can talk some more. So it creates that courage and compassion and connection that Brené Brown talks about ever so much, who's a great resource. So there's a lot of listening references in Rahiaa, the evening prayer, and I will include those in the notes. But it basically says that pain and illness depart when you're listening to the true bani, and pure are the listeners and pure are the speakers. And that brings me on to my next point, because I find the interesting thing is where it says eat little, sleep little, talk little. One major thing for me is that I find I already talk quite little, and I want to talk more because I do have more to say. So I think it comes back to one time I was at a yogic festival and someone observed that I was just like listening and watching, and they really did say, oh, it's good, you're an observer. And I thought that's a really nice way to put it, actually. I never thought about that myself. So I think through listening wholeheartedly, you do talk openly and from the whole of you. One reference to Gurbani is in, I think it's at near the end of Rahiaa. Yeah, it is. It says, "O Supreme Sword, please bless me with your mercy. It is not I who speak, but you who speaks through me." So that really helps with any anxiety I have over speaking. I mean, not always. I'm still not great in talking in Q&A or in groups or anything like that. But it's got me here. So it reminds me that there's a bigger thing at play. It kind of puts me to the side a little bit and just says that there's something more speaking here. Forget about you, forget about the little me, I'm scared or whatever. It's all Maharaj, it's all how it's meant to be. So I won't go on to the sleep, because I don't sleep little. Well, that's another time. Anyway, but it's true. Sleep little, talk little, eat little. It's all about balance, and it's all about being open on your spiritual path. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh.